All right, welcome to the first of its kind, world-changing manufacturers network. Lisa Ryan has her ears to the ground and her heart in the game. Get ongoing education and new connections right here with Lisa and the Manufacturers Network. Buckle your seat, listen, and spread the word. Here's Lisa.
Hey, it's Lisa Ryan. Welcome to the Manufacturers Network podcast. Excited to introduce our guest today, Harish Chandramowli. Harish is the co-founder of Flaire. With a deep software engineering background, Harish has seen firsthand how companies struggle to consume and act on data. Now, as an outsider to manufacturing, he's bringing a fresh, tech-driven approach to streamline production because in fashion, every day of delay is a day lost on the shelf. So Harish, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So share with us a little bit about your background and what led you to doing what you do.
So for the past 10 years before Flaire, I have worked at MongoDB, which is a database company. And before that, I worked at Bloomberg. In both the places, we bring in how to make sure and help people consume data that matters to them. And one of the things I noticed while working at MongoDB, especially, is that a lot of our customers were in retail industry and a lot of them were big retail customers. So I always noticed how they consume MongoDB, especially a schema-less architecture. And I have always been from engineering perspective, how to solve those issues. 2 years back, I was at this store called ONS in Soho, New York, downtown. I sat through their meetings. I observed how their back office works. And the thing that stood out to me during that time is that in fashion, especially both for production, for understanding what to order and understanding even the demand, for all these things, everyone sees their product differently. Everyone sees their data differently. And ONS with a male fashion wear store, they see t-shirt as color and size. And we have the female athletic wear brand who have cup size, torso length, regular sizes, and then colors. 4 different properties form a SKU. Whereas for other people, it's just 2 properties, and each and every one is different. And even when the way they write things to factories, and even understanding factory delays on which is coming in, which is not coming in, everything has a real impact in fashion. One of the example for me was that I was talking to this swimwear brand. They were talking about how their production delay, there was a delay in receiving their goods, and the production manager forgot to update that in a different spreadsheet, which led them to have models come to the place and not have the samples. That means they are paying the models and they do not have their sample arrived. And it's a loss of revenue at the end of the day because you have to pay them. And that kind of made me observe manufacturing is not just about ordering, especially in fashion industry. You are ordering, you are coordinating with different pieces, you are planning to make sure when to replenish. And also remember, in fashion, things move fast. It's you only get 3 months to sell your product. If there are delay in manufacturing, you are losing very valuable time. And then at the end of the 3 months, you are sitting on the goods because you can't just extend your sales side. And that's what kind of prompted me on how can we give data-driven approach? How can we make it easy to share information? And how can we make sure that within your company, everyone understands what is coming in, when items are coming in, and when there are delays, how much we need to replenish. And that's what led to fashion.
It's funny because as you're talking about fashion, I think about all the times I've watched Shark Tank, and every time somebody brings in some kind of piece of fashion, it's always the SKUs that they are talking about how many, because I don't think that we realize that. I think about size, small, medium, large, extra large, but now you're talking about length and cup size and everything else in there for one piece of clothing. So it certainly gives a different spin to manufacturing and all the SKUs that are needed.
Fun fact, one of our customers, TA3 Swim, who is a female swimwear brand, were in Shark Tank. I think one of the reasons they picked up so well is because of their appearance in Shark Tank.
Yeah. Yeah, what is one of my favorite shows, and I can't tell you how many things I have bought as a result of watching Shark Tank. And you explained it a little bit. Coming from a software background, what drew you specifically into manufacturing and then fashion operations?
So for me, coming from software background, when you think of software, which is very generic, we think data as numbers and text. But when I was speaking to fashion brands, it was specifically like it's not just numbers and text. They see UPC code, but like barcodes as a primitive, like things that they talk about. Color. Color is not like just red or blue. It has like Pantone, hex code, like multiple different properties attached to color. So what we wanted to bring in is, so MongoDB, for example, is the first schemaless database that came. Oracle, who owns NetSuite, the most prevalent ERP, is the gold standard for database. So when I built MongoDB and Oracle being like the gold standard for NetSuite ERP, it made me curious on what is the difference. How can I bring that technology that we were building at MongoDB for general purpose to a very specific ERP scale? And that's what led my curiosity, how we can bring innovation to this space. Number one. Number two, even as a software engineer, I'm more realistic. One of the things I noticed is that I'm not going to take on NetSuite on day one. It's like if you're 100+ million brand, if you come to me, I tell you that go to NetSuite, you can pay them and they have figured out how to make everything work for your bigger brands. Maybe as we grow, we will help you. Even 100 million, 200 million brands. But at this point, I know I can't take on NetSuite on day one. And when it comes to e-com, Shopify has done a very good job of helping smaller brand onboard, getting smaller brands' website up and running and start the sales. But when it comes to back office operation for SMBs, there was nothing like Shopify, nothing that makes it easier for you to fine tune your operations, understand your manufacturing, even like writing purchase orders, for example. It's not great in Shopify. They don't let you track your landed cost. They don't let you have a layered costing so that you can plan accordingly. Split shipments becomes harder because manufacturing is not just writing PO. There are nuances in the smaller parts that makes everyone's operation easy. And that's where I wanted to come in.
And the other interesting thing about fashion, and again, you brought up all the colors and everything, but if you have just a machine part, chances are you're going to be able to sell that machine part for the next 20 years to the machine. When you have fashion, you have things that are going out of style as quickly as they're coming into style. So the risk there of not managing your data correctly is pretty substantial.
That is also one of the reasons why we started with fashion. Because if you are like a manufacturing parts or someone, until you cross 100 million, you don't really need an ERP. You could probably get away without having to pay for your software, but you can't do that in fashion. Even if you're a $15 million brand, $20 million brand, you need to plan your buys. You need to plan your manufacturing like 6 to 8 months in advance and also be able to get rid of it within 3 months. So people need software much earlier in your life cycle.
Right. So for someone outside the industry, what surprised you most about how the production and supply chains actually work in fashion?
So one of the major things is like it's still PDF. It's still like a lot of emails, and that makes it really harder to coordinate. And pricing is the same thing, right? It's especially with tariff, for example, one of the things that was really shocking to me is that you order 8 months in advance, and when ship lands, you have no idea what the tariff is, and you can't like delay the production. Now you are sitting on the goods. You have paid more for the production due to tariff, and you don't know how to sell it because you also need to consider like customers' appetite to consume that cost. So production as it is for me was not just like doing it in the factory, right? All these things mattered, and I did not think about how complex the system is. Number one. Number two, within fashion, there are different types of brand. For example, one of our customers is like a female bridal wear company. And that was so different where like you go to this fashion week, people come in, they literally look at the material, they look at embroidery, they say exactly what they need. Obviously, it costs you like $50,000 to $100,000 for a gown. But then the way manufacturing work is like you understand customers' input and you just produce one dress. That's it. Whereas when I talk about these fast-moving fashions, they have to plan ahead. They need to come up with like design that would go with everyone. And the way manufacturing happens is very different. So those are mostly full-fledged, like full factory manufacturing where you design everything, your factory does all the manufacturing. Whereas when I was talking about the bridal wear gown, it's more like it goes through multiple factories. Textiles get produced in one factory. Embroidery happens in another factory. And everything is nitpicky. That means even your production life cycle is not like you go and order your things in your factory and it's there. You need to track how things change. And another example for me is textiles. Textiles, again, it's the same process. you get skin from one place and then you may process the skin in another place for leather, and then you figure out how to dye the leather. Everything happens in a very different area, sometimes in different countries that you need to trace.
Wow, that is a lot more than traditional manufacturing has to worry about. So what are some of the common operational blind spots that you see brands struggle with in the production life cycle? And again, how can better data unlock these solutions?
So one of the reasons we started Flaire as a workflow platform where we made it very easy for people to enter data is because once the data is there, you can make sense of it. That's what every company is trying to build. But when I actually spoke with PO managers, when I spoke with all the CEOs of these brands, the softwares are not easy to enter data. That means what happens is during the planning phase, during the negotiation phase, everything just lives in your email or in some spreadsheets because softwares is not easy to use in terms of writing POs. The moment you want to write POs, so many softwares are there. So many softwares make your life easy. So what happens at that time is that a lot of data get lost. You don't have idea on how much you negotiated. And sometimes you don't know during the negotiation phase, when the planned buy is going to come in, even to do these things. That's why I feel like they need software. And most important thing, especially as a CEO, is that they always think about accounting as the major thing. Okay, let me pick a software that helps with accounting. But sometimes you need to pick a software that your PO manager would love to use from day one, from the time they are planning the buy, because that goes a long way in making sure your data is appropriate. Once the data is there, making sense of the data, I feel like it's so easy because there are hundreds of companies that does that. The major pitfalls I saw is that people don't enter the data into any systems.
Are there other similar industries that might be experience problems? It seems that fashion is at the opposite end of the scale when it comes to complexity because of the different sizes and colors and SKUs and countries and everything else that's involved. But if a typical manufacturer that is listening to this, what are some of the things that they need to know about data as it would apply to them?
So one of the example I had was that initially, actually, when I started thinking about manufacturing, I thought manufacturing is simple. Everyone goes through similar life cycle. And then the more I learned about different industries and I realized everything is different. The example I can take for that is there was this car parts manufacturing company that I was talking to, and their challenge is very different. One, they have a lot of documentation that needs to be maintained throughout the process. Because when you sell a part to a car manufacturer, you need to give them the documentation from quality check to what material used and everything during the manufacturing process. And the issue they had is that they can write a PO, but it was not easy for them to track these documentation because that lives in their Google Drive. So when they produce these things for government, for approvals, they miss documentation. They send the wrong files. It's such a simple thing of just data organization. It's not even data collection. And they were talking about the pain point there. At the end of the day, I feel like understanding your industry and which is more important workflow problem that goes wrong. It's the difference between understanding manufacturing and the importance of data versus for sale is so different, because when you're talking about sales, people think of, okay, I have this profit margin, so I know how much money I am making. This is what I'm getting. Whereas in manufacturing, the mistakes you do is a lost revenue and it's not the revenue you make. So mapping that is not easy for a lot of people within the industry, especially in fashion. I'm going back to fashion partly because I know the industry a bit inside. But I saw that some of the CEOs are so creative. So they think about creative designs, creative materials, but they don't think about the lost revenue when they don't have a team that uses the product efficiently during the manufacturing process. To your question of what are the things that whoever is listening from manufacturing needs to learn about data, is it also think about the lost revenue, also think about where data originates and make sure those people are happy and those people also enter the data in some kind of software.
And so if somebody is really just getting started, they haven't done a good job of putting together their data, maybe it's in all different places and they know they need to get organized because they are losing revenue. What is the best way to get started?
So one, contact me. I'm always happy to geek out about it. You don't have to use the Flaire as a product. But the thing is more world has changed. In a sense, like if you have spreadsheet, there are so many AI toolings that helps you sanitize your data, that helps you keep different spreadsheets in sync. So you don't need to pay $10,000, $20,000 for an ERP. From the beginning, if you can just play around with these like new toolings out there, you can go a long way. The world last 2 years has changed so much that you don't need to think of it as, I'm going to spend $100,000, implement an ERP, and that's what I need. No. If you're a small brand, do not go that far. Even when I have done sales for Flaire, I told so many customers, do not use Flaire or any other ERP. You don't need it. All you need is certain small automations around your spreadsheets. ChatGPT can help you do those automations. All these AI toolings can help you do that. So yeah, if you are a new brand, be bold enough to try these things because you are small. You don't want to spend that much money. You are already like trying to get your business and product market fit. And this is not where you probably want to spend money. But at the same time, it's very important to start from the beginning with data sanity. An example would be like a company that doesn't have the data sanity had color, red color, capital R. Another design had small red, small r. And all those becomes an issue when you run reports. Now you don't know what report to run. So these are such a small thing where all these AI toolings can force you to be like, I don't see this color in your database. So can you just get it updated? That's it.
Wow. Yeah. Again, when you were talking about that, it reminded me of when speakers are getting started in their speaking business and they want to get the fancy CRM right off the bat. They're going to pay thousands of dollars for that. And I just tell them, you know what? I ran my business for the first couple of years with an Excel spreadsheet. So spreadsheets are good, but it starts to make good habits so that when you grow large enough, you have the data there to put it into a system and invest the money when that makes sense.
Exactly. That's a very good analogy. And that's what I tell people all the time.
So if people are listening today and thinking, we've always done it this way, what is your best advice to start embracing a more data-driven approach in their production life cycle?
I have seen so many people move to ERP. We have onboarded people who were in different ERPs. We have onboarded people who were only in spreadsheet. It's a day and night difference. When we brought in people from ERP, they had everything figured out. Their operations is so smooth that they can run a $30 to $50 million business with 3 to 4 people. That's it. Because data is insane. Manufacturing, when you want to do a purchase order, everyone knows where to go, exactly to write a purchase order, and that's it. Boom. 5 minutes, the job is done. Whereas the people who were in spreadsheet, who has to update the same data, same information in multiple places, they need 30 to 40 people team to run a $50 million business. So think of it this way. It's like, it's not just about data. It's not just about making decisions. Having these in right way, make each and every one in the company more efficient, and you can run a nimble team and just think about product market fit.
And I like being able to, you're suggestive of using ChatGPT because I am a huge proponent and use of that in my business. I know how much it's helped me, but just from an organization standpoint of being able to put all of those spreadsheets into chat and saying, hey, this is what I have. What can I do better? And then taking what that output, making sure the chat's not lying to you or hallucinating, but being able to take that. So you can actually cut off a lot of steps by preparing first before you go to that next step. Is that right?
Yes, that's absolutely right. And it's something I've been thinking in the last 2 months on what ERP means in future, not right now. So if you have used Anthropic like Claude recently, you can connect your Gmail, you can connect your Google Drive and everything and ask questions around that. And why do people use ERP in fashion industries? Primarily to understand your data. Previously, until now, what ERPs usually do is they connect to all the systems you use, bring and copy the data over to a single source, and then help you run reports, help you make sense of all the disparate data, right? Like whether it's coming from a production PLM software or your e-com software or your different sales channel, and then mapping it to your production. But that's not needed. What Claude has proved is that you can connect with this new technology called MCP tools, that different softwares, and without copying data, you can just run reports across these sources. I do feel that's how ERP should be in 2 years from now. It's about orchestration and data flow and helping your team know what their workflow is and make it easy and not have to adopt for an ERP. The biggest issue right now, like when I talked about the production managers and everything, is that they don't use the product because they feel that they need to change the way they work to use the software. That would go away with ChatGPT and everything. Software should adopt to your company's workflow and not the other way around. Yeah, that's
Right.
like future where I feel it's going to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And the way it's as quickly as technology is changing right now, it's probably going to be even faster than that.
Not for the podcast per day, but yes, that's one of the things that I've been thinking a lot as well. Should I just pivot right now? Because I see these brands who don't need a full-fledged ERP. So can we make it even more nimble for them and cheaper for them? $200 a month, you could literally spin up a custom workflow platform that helps them with their manufacturing process. It's such an easy job to do these days. Yeah. Anyway, it's something I've been thinking a lot. I don't have a clear answer that this is how the world is going to evolve because things are changing so fast.
Yes, they are. So if somebody did want to continue the conversation with you, exactly what does Flaire do? How do you help them? And what's a good way to get in touch with you?
Contact me in LinkedIn. That's the primary place where I will always be active and reply to you. What Flaire does, we want to be a nimble, lightweight workflow automation platform so that it's easy for you to adopt. What that means is like typically when I talk to people, I literally ask them to explain their business. Being an outsider, it's more easy to be curious as well. And then literally put it in ChatGPT. Draw a workflow diagram out. These are the people in your company. This is how you are operating at each section. Then make sense on like where Flaire can fit in, or if it doesn't fit in. That's why I also highlighted that a lot of times. I would say to people that you don't need Flaire or any ERP, because the moment you start visualizing your business, you realize it's actually a lot more simple. So yeah, contact me. One of the exercises, rather than pitching Flaire, my pitch is going to be like, let's discuss what your business does and then figure out if Flaire is the right one or what tooling is the right one to use.
Wonderful. So as just a last question, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wish that I would have, or any final thoughts?
Nothing particular. I feel like one of the things which I'm very curiously looking around and listening to these podcasts is like how people adopt and use AI these days, because it's just fascinating. Sometimes you just see someone says that this is how I use these AI and it's okay. That seems very useful. Why haven't I thought about it?
So you continue to learn every day, just as you continue to work with your clients.
Yes.
All right, Harish, it was an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
I'm Lisa Ryan, and this is the Manufacturers Network Podcast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Manufacturers Network Podcast. Do me a favor and share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can grow this network and connect more fantastic folks just like you. You can either send your buddies to the website at manufacturers-network.com or share the Manufacturers Network podcast on your LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or wherever you and your industry friends hang out. The bigger and faster we grow the network, the stronger and deeper the community we'll all have. Thanks again, and I appreciate you.